The Astrani delegation arrived with all the subtlety of a supernova. Their ships, 5 crystalline vessels that seemed to bend light around their hulls, took up position around Outpost Theta 9 in perfect geometric formation. Marcus stood in the station's main reception chamber, trying not to fidget as Naira explained protocol to him in rapid, clipped tones. "The High Council's representatives will test the validity of our bond," she said, adjusting the collar of the formal uniform she'd insisted he wear. The fabric felt alive against his skin, shifting and adjusting to his movements. "Speak only when addressed directly. Show no fear." "I'm not afraid," Marcus replied, though his racing heart suggested otherwise. "I'm just not thrilled about being drafted into an alien marriage because I'm good at fixing things." Naira's geometric patterns pulsed with what he was beginning to recognize as irritation. "This is not merely marriage, Commander Reed. The quantum bond transcends your limited human concept of partnership. We are now connected at the subatomic level." Before Marcus could argue that his atoms were perfectly happy being single, the chamber doors slid open. 3 Astrani nobles entered, their ceremonial armor making Naira's battle gear look practically casual. The leader, distinguished by elaborate crystalline growths that framed his 3 eyes, stepped forward. "I am High Judge Curvax," he announced, his voice resonating at a frequency that made Marcus's teeth ache. "We have come to verify the spontaneous quantum bonding reported by Warrior Vel'Thuz." Marcus opened his mouth, but Naira's subtle head shake stopped him. "Right. Speak only when addressed." Curvax approached, studying Marcus with all 3 eyes. "A human mechanic," he mused. "Unusual. Our records indicate your species has barely mastered basic quantum mechanics." "With respect, High Judge," Naira interjected, "Commander Reed achieved perfect harmonic resonance with my vessel's core consciousness. The readings are undeniable." The other 2 nobles moved forward, producing devices that looked like crosses between medical scanners and jewelry. They circled Marcus, taking readings that made his skin tingle. "Extraordinary," one of them murmured. "His quantum signature has indeed synchronized with Warrior Vel'Thuz's ship. The probability of this occurring naturally is impossible," Curvax finished. His central eye fixed on Marcus. "Unless there are factors we do not understand. Human, explain how you achieved this resonance." Finally addressed directly, Marcus chose his words carefully. "I approached the repair like any other job. Focus on the problem, understand the system, fix what's broken. The ship. It seemed to respond to intention as much as action." "As it should," Curvax said. "Our technology is semi-sentient, requiring more than mere mechanical aptitude to interface with. Yet you, a member of a pre-quantum civilization, managed to establish a deep enough connection to trigger a bonding." "About that," Marcus ventured. "On Earth, fixing someone's property doesn't typically result in marriage. There has to be some way to undo this." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Curvax's patterns turned harsh and angular. "You wish to reject the bond?" "I wish to understand it," Marcus countered, remembering Naira's warning about showing fear. "Where I come from, partnerships are built on choice and mutual understanding, not technical expertise." "Fascinating," the second noble said, still taking readings. "He shows remarkable quantum stability for one so primitive in his understanding." Marcus bristled at that, but before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The main view screen activated, showing a new vessel dropping out of quantum space. Unlike the elegant Astrani ships, this one was all sharp angles and weapon ports. "Krexer Raiders," Naira hissed, her patterns flaring with recognition. "They must have detected the quantum disturbance from our bonding." Curvax's expression darkened. "The Raiders believe they can claim this station while we are occupied with ceremony. They will learn otherwise." But Marcus was already moving to the station's control console, his hands flying over the interfaces. They're targeting our shield generators, he announced. Standard raider tactics, take out defenses, then demand surrender. This is not your concern, Kovacs declared. The Astrani fleet will handle this threat. With respect, High Judge, this is my station, Marcus replied, not looking up from his work. And if you want to test whether this bond with your warrior is real, watch what happens when I sync your ship's quantum shields with our defense grid. Naira moved to his side, her hands joining his on the console. The moment they made contact, Marcus felt it, the same resonance he'd experienced while repairing her ship, but magnified. Through their connection, he could sense the quantum fields around the station, could feel the way they could be woven together. Working in perfect synchronization, Marcus and Naira merged the Astrani ship's advanced shields with the station's more primitive defenses. The resulting energy field rippled with patterns identical to those on Naira's skin. The Krexer vessel fired, their weapons striking the hybridized shield. Instead of weakening it, the attack was absorbed, redistributed, and channeled back in a surge that overloaded the Raider's systems. Within moments, the threat was neutralized. Silence fell in the chamber. Marcus became acutely aware that every Astrani was staring at him, their patterns shifting in what he hoped was amazement rather than anger. Kovacs spoke first. It seems, he said slowly, that we must re-evaluate our understanding of both this bond and humanity's potential. Does this mean I'm not in trouble for questioning your traditions? Marcus asked. You are in more trouble than you can imagine, Naira replied, but her patterns had shifted to a configuration he hadn't seen before. If he didn't know better, he'd say she looked pleased. The bond will be formally recognized, Kovacs declared. But this incident raises larger questions. Questions that the High Council will want answered. Marcus looked at Naira. I'm not going to like what comes next, am I? Almost certainly not, she agreed. But you have proven yourself worthy of the challenge. And perhaps. Her patterns rippled in what might have been amusement. Perhaps our cultures have more to learn from each other than we realized. Looking at the stunned faces of the Astrani nobles and the disabled raider ship on the view screen, Marcus couldn't help but agree. He'd wanted to avoid an interspecies incident. Instead, he might have just sparked an interstellar cultural revolution. All because he was good at fixing things. Some days, it really didn't pay to be competent at your job. Commander Marcus Reed stood at the viewport of Outpost Theta 9, watching the endless dance of stars against the void of space. 20 years of working as the station's chief mechanic had taught him one thing: in the vastness of space, the strangest encounters often came disguised as routine calls. The emergency beacon that pulsed on his diagnostic screen was anything but routine. Commander, incoming transmission, the station's AI chimed. Unknown vessel requesting immediate assistance. Configuration matches no known registry. Marcus rubbed his jaw, studying the readout. The ship's energy signature was unlike anything he'd seen before, sleek, efficient, and definitely not human-made. Patch them through. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a figure that made Marcus catch his breath. The alien warrior stood tall and proud, her silvery skin catching the starlight. Geometric patterns traced lines of iridescent light across her face, and her eyes, 3 of them, glowed with an inner fire of deep violet. I am Naira Vel'Thuz of the Astrani Dominion, she announced, her voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. My vessel requires immediate repair. Your station's beacon indicates mechanical expertise. Marcus straightened, professional instincts kicking in despite his surprise. Commander Marcus Reed, chief mechanic of Outpost Theta 9. What seems to be the problem? My quantum drive matrix has suffered severe degradation following an encounter with an anomalous energy field. Without repairs, my ship will lose containment within 6 hours. 6 hours. Marcus's mind raced through the implications. A quantum drive breach could vaporize half the sector. Bring her in. Docking Bay 3 is clear. I'll meet you there. The ship that glided into his bay was a masterpiece of engineering. Obsidian black with veins of pulsing energy running through its hull, it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Marcus watched in fascination as the vessel settled onto the landing pad with impossible grace. When the airlock cycled open, Naira emerged in full battle regalia. Her armor, if it could be called that, seemed to flow like liquid metal, adapting to her movements with organic precision. She towered over Marcus by at least 2 feet, but it was her presence more than her height that commanded attention. The damage? Marcus asked, already pulling out his diagnostic tools. Naira gestured, and a holographic schematic materialized between them. The primary matrix coupling has destabilized. Our technology, it requires a specific resonance to maintain quantum coherence. Marcus studied the schematics, his experienced eyes picking out the problem areas. I've never worked on anything like this before, but the principles should be similar. Mind if I take a closer look? Naira's middle eye narrowed slightly. You understand that tampering with Astrani technology carries severe penalties under our laws? I understand that if we don't fix this, we'll all be atomic vapor in 6 hours, Marcus replied evenly. Your choice. A moment passed, then Naira inclined her head. Proceed. But be warned, our technology responds to intent as much as action. Choose your movements carefully. For the next 4 hours, Marcus worked in a state of intense concentration. The ship's systems were beyond advanced. They were practically alive. Each repair required not just technical skill but an almost meditative focus. Naira watched silently, her 3 eyes tracking his every move. As he realigned the final coupling, Marcus felt something shift. Not in the ship, but in the air between them. A subtle tension, like static before a storm. There, he said, closing the access panel. Try it now. Naira placed her hand on the ship's hull. Energy surged through the vessel, the quantum drive humming with renewed strength. But instead of relief, Marcus saw something like alarm flash across her alien features. Is something wrong? He asked. The readings look stable. The repair is perfect, Naira said slowly. Too perfect. You've achieved harmonic resonance with the ship's core consciousness. Marcus frowned. I'm not sure I follow. In Astrani culture, to repair another's vessel with such intimacy is an act of profound significance. Naira's voice carried a weight he couldn't quite understand. You have synchronized your energy with my ship's quantum matrix. By our most ancient laws, this creates a bond that cannot be easily broken. A bond? Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of bond? Naira's geometric patterns pulsed with increasing intensity. You have become what my people call a quantum bound, one whose essence is intertwined with another's through their vessel. In simpler terms. She paused, all 3 eyes fixed on him. You are now my mate. Marcus stared at her, waiting for the punchline. None came. That's not how repairs work where I'm from. Nevertheless, it is done. The Astrani High Council will have already detected the resonance pattern. They will expect us to formalize the bond. Formalize? Marcus felt like he was losing grip on reality. Look, I just fixed your ship. I'm not ready for an interspecies marriage, or whatever this is. What you are ready for is irrelevant, Naira stated matter-of-factly. The bond exists. To reject it would be to invite consequences neither of us would survive. As if to emphasize her point, a new alert flashed on the station's screens. Multiple ships had just emerged from quantum space, Astrani vessels, their energy signatures unmistakable. Marcus looked from the approaching ships to Naira's impassive face, and realized his routine day had just become anything but. I don't suppose there's a diplomatic way out of this? Naira's patterns shifted in what might have been amusement. Welcome to the Astrani Dominion, Commander Reed. I suggest you prepare yourself for what comes next. Looking at the incoming fleet, Marcus had a feeling that fixing the quantum drive would prove to be the easiest part of his day. Sometimes, he reflected, no good deed goes unpunished, especially when dealing with advanced alien civilizations and their complicated customs around ship repair. Last edited 7 minutes ago. The Astrani warship's training chamber hummed with nervous energy as Marcus faced his opponent. Warrior Krell towered over him, his crystalline armor catching the light in ways that made Marcus's eyes hurt. This, he decided, was definitely not how he'd planned to spend his week. The challenge is simple, Naira explained from the sidelines, her patterns betraying concern despite her neutral tone. Defeat Krell in quantum-enhanced combat, and your right to the bond will be uncontested. And if I lose? Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. Then you forfeit all claims to the bond, and your quantum resonance will be forcibly severed. She paused. The process is usually fatal. Marcus adjusted the strange armor they'd given him, trying to get used to the way it seemed to anticipate his movements. You know, on Earth we usually just go on a few dates first. Focus, Naira snapped. Krell is one of our most accomplished warriors. He has never accepted the idea of an outsider achieving quantum bonding. Krell's patterns pulsed with aggressive intent. This human is an aberration, he declared. His accidental resonance with your ship insults our most sacred traditions. Sacred traditions like challenging someone who's never used your technology to a death match? Marcus muttered. The chamber's quantum field activated, creating a space where physical combat would be enhanced by quantum manipulation. Marcus felt the familiar resonance humming through his armor, similar to what he'd experienced while repairing Naira's ship. Krell didn't wait for further ceremony. He launched forward, his armor leaving trails of quantum energy in his wake. Marcus barely managed to dodge, his own armor responding more to instinct than conscious thought. The armor is an extension of your quantum signature, Naira called out. Stop thinking like a mechanic and feel the resonance. Easy for her to say. Marcus ducked another attack, trying to understand how Krell was moving through quantum space with such ease. The warrior seemed to exist in multiple positions simultaneously, making it impossible to predict his attacks. A crystalline blade materialized in Krell's hand, its edge splitting quantum possibilities. You understand nothing of our ways, he snarled, slashing through space itself. The bond is sacred, earned through generations of discipline and training. Marcus caught the blade on his armor's forearm guard, feeling reality splinter around the point of contact. You're right, he grunted. I don't understand your ways. He pushed back, finding strength in the quantum field. But I understand systems, and right now, you're fighting the resonance instead of working with it. Something clicked in Marcus's mind. The quantum field, the armor, even Krell's attacks, they were all part of a single system. Just like when he repaired ships, success came from working with the technology, not against it. Marcus stopped trying to match Krell's warrior training and instead approached the fight like a particularly complex repair job. The quantum field responded, his armor synchronizing with his intuitive understanding of systems and energy flow. Impossible, Krell growled as Marcus began to move more confidently through quantum space. You cannot have mastered our techniques so quickly. I haven't, Marcus replied, sliding between quantum possibilities with increasing ease. I'm just doing what I do best, working with the system instead of forcing it. The fight shifted. Where Krell tried to dominate the quantum field through sheer will and training, Marcus flowed with it, letting his mechanic's intuition guide him. His movements became more efficient, each action rippling through multiple quantum states. Krell's frustration made him aggressive. He launched a series of attacks that should have shredded quantum space itself, but Marcus saw the pattern, not as a warrior, but as someone who had spent his life understanding how complex systems interacted. In a move that surprised even himself, Marcus sidestepped Krell's most powerful attack and used the warrior's own quantum momentum against him. Krell's blade passed through empty space as Marcus appeared behind him, one hand pressed against the warrior's armor. "Your quantum field is out of alignment," Marcus said calmly. "About a 3-degree variance in the main resonance coil. Want me to fix that for you?" The chamber fell silent. Krell stood frozen, realizing that Marcus could have disrupted his entire quantum signature in that moment. Instead, he'd pointed out a technical flaw, one that any experienced warrior should have noticed. Naira stepped forward, her patterns bright with what Marcus now recognized as pride. "The challenge is decided," she announced. "Commander Reed has proven his worth not through combat, but through understanding." Krell's patterns shifted through various emotions before settling into something like grudging respect. "You fight like no warrior I have ever faced," he admitted. Perhaps there is something to be learned from your perspective." "I'd be happy to take a look at that resonance coil," Marcus offered. "Though given what happened last time I fixed something, maybe we should have witnesses." A ripple of what might have been laughter passed through the gathered Astrani. Even Krell's patterns showed amusement. "The High Council will be most interested in these developments," Naira said, approaching Marcus. "You continue to surprise us, Commander Reed." "Just doing my job," Marcus replied. "Though I have to admit, this is definitely more exciting than fixing coolant leaks on the station." "The quantum bond between you grows stronger," one of the Council observers noted. "It manifests in ways we have never seen before." Marcus looked at Naira, seeing her in a new light. The bond between them had started as an accident, but there was no denying its effect. When they worked together, whether in combat or protecting the station, something unprecedented happened. "So what happens now?" he asked. Naira's patterns shifted to a configuration he was beginning to find quite appealing. "Now, Commander Reed, we begin to explore what this bond truly means, for both our peoples. As long as it doesn't involve any more death matches," Marcus said. "No promises," Naira replied, but her pattern suggested she was joking. "Probably." Looking around the chamber at the amazed faces of the Astrani, Marcus realized that his life had changed irrevocably. He'd gone from being a simple station mechanic to something entirely new, a bridge between two civilizations, connected by quantum mechanics and the strangest repair job of his career. And somehow, he was starting to think that might not be such a bad thing after all.